Welcome to the first of a three-part series on supporting academic success with the Bright Light Psychology Clinic. An overview for today's webinar and the goals that we have set. So today you will begin to develop an understanding of some of the ways you can support your child's learning by understanding the process of learning and the importance of mindset. So thinking about how we learn and how we make sense of the world around us through our thoughts, our beliefs, and our experiences. We're also going to be looking at strategies to improve motivation and attention, as we know how important those two areas are and how they impact learning. And finally, we will be understanding how we process information through different learning styles. So let's start off by asking ourselves, what is learning? I think oftentimes we know how to use the word learning in different contexts that we speak about, but it might be hard to actually isolate that word and put it into a definition. So I wrote here that learning is a change of behavior that comes from processing information based on practice and experience. So learning is something that causes change. For us to truly learn, it means that something has to shift in the way that we think, the way that we act, and the way that we believe about a certain idea or experience. Learning is something that is ongoing, and it starts from right when we are, babies, and we're mimicking the behaviors of others as our point of learning. And as we get older, it does become more sophisticated and more complex and relies heavily on what is called our executive function. And that's something that we will be talking about in greater detail in our third part of the series. What is a mindset? It is a way of thinking. It's a collection of thoughts and beliefs that shape your thought habits. And your thought habits affect how you think, how you feel, and what you do. So it also determines how you make sense of the world around you. And as mentioned earlier, how we frame our mindset to feel about learning determines our ability to learn. So I'll give you an example here. When I was growing up in school, I struggled a lot with math and just understanding, what was the purpose of math, why were there so many numbers, and how will I need this in the future? And I had this mindset. Also, I'm now realizing that it was because pretty much everyone else in my family shared that same mindset, and it was a place of common ground and common understanding. My parents would say to me, "Oh, we were never good at math either. It must just be in our family." I have two older sisters, and they said the same thing, that they also struggled with math. So for me, hearing this all around me and just having it be as a given that, oh, we're a family that's not good at math, I internalized that for pretty much all of my elementary and high school years, and including early parts of my university. But now as I'm older and I realize that, our mindset is not something that is fixed and it's something that can change, I've now taken the step to, go back and try to get better at math and understanding that so that, I can better serve the students that I do. So I mentioned earlier that I have a math additional qualification, and that was kind of my way of showing myself that, yes, it might have been challenging for me growing up. And yes, I had this mindset because other influences were contributing to that, but it doesn't mean that I will never be good at math in my life. And I just have to make those decisions to make changes and move forward. And it did. And, I think that's something really important that we need to foster and teach to ourselves and really believe that. And by virtue, children and students that we work with. So on the left side is actually kind of what we want to be working towards, both in ourselves and for our children, so that they can see us as examples in encompassing this mindset ourselves and actually having that. And so by virtue of seeing you as an example of having a growth mindset, they can start to internalize those feelings and those beliefs as well. So let's take a look. An example of growth mindset is the idea that failure is an opportunity to grow. Challenges help me to grow. I like to try new things, and feedback is constructive. I've showcased here the statements that we had previously looked at that reflect a growth mindset. And what I've done is written that same statement in a way that encompasses having a growth mindset. As we've mentioned, developing a growth mindset will help keep children motivated to learn. But what else influences motivation? We can't always put our eggs all in one basket with the growth mindset because there are other things that will come up that will determine motivation. So it's important to connect these and to talk about it. So some things that influence motivation could be stress, anxiety, or having a negative self-concept. So again, it's really important that we're helping our children to have the conditions where they're stress-free, where they don't feel anxious about new situations or something that's happening in their life, and they have a positive self-concept, and you are helping to enable that. It's important to think about eating and sleeping habits and how that influences motivation. If someone's hungry or if someone's tired, right, they're not going to be able to focus because all that they're going to be thinking about is how hungry or how tired they are. And the same thing goes for stress, anxiety, or having a negative self-concept and the other 2 points underneath. It's really important that when we're thinking about learning and the conditions that we need to learn and motivation, that we're removing external distractions. So what that could be is, for example, if usually your child is doing their homework on their bed, right, that might not be the best place for them to work because their bed is associated with relaxing time and sleeping. So it might be helpful to have as a designated spot in your home that is always their homework spot, and they know that this is the place that, you know, they have everything that they need to focus, right? Turning off the TV in the background, limiting music, telling other members of the family that, okay, my child's going to be working, or so-and-so is going to be working from 5 to 6 p.m. and we need that time to be quiet so they can focus. And again, if you find that the work is too easy or too hard, that might be a conversation that you would have with your child's teacher, or maybe the tasks that you're asking them to do could be one or the other as well. So asking them for feedback, asking them how they feel about the different tasks. But what I would say about the too hard point is that things can be challenging, yes, but it shouldn't be that the second something is a bit, you know, challenging and hard that they give up. We want there to be challenge, but we want it to be a realistic and attainable challenge. So we want it to be that they have the skills and the knowledge and tools necessary to execute whatever that challenge is, but nothing too hard because then, you know, it's not helpful to anyone. You'll find that with this list, it's not exhaustive, so there might be more than this. Some of these strategies might be the same or similar to the ones that you've thought of. Maybe you'll see some different ones. Your child can have a growth mindset and be motivated, but their success requires them to sustain their attention. So I did mention before that I wanted to spend more time looking at understanding how your child learns. So how your child learns is based on how they process information. So we ask ourselves, how do we process information? What happens first is it's a 3-stage process where first there's the input, which is kind of initially how we view a situation or experience, something that's happening. Then it goes to the storage phase where we make sense of that experience in relation to other memories, other thoughts and experiences from previous encounters that might relate to it. And the output is then responding to what had taken place. Maybe it's through action, maybe it's through behaviors, maybe it's just the thought about what you would do if you encounter that again. But it's important to note, though, that as humans, we are often influenced by our emotions and our motivation. Children are extremely perceptive, and they need to know that they have trusting and caring adults in their life that will demonstrate to them that, yes, they can improve. And if something is challenging, then that's okay, but they can come to you for support. We know that children learn in a variety of ways, but learning about some of the different ways we process information can be helpful to your child. And over here, we have 3 main learning styles that we're going to be looking at in more detail. There's the visual learning style, there's the auditory learning style, and the kinesthetic learning style. The next part we'll be covering with our academic success, how to best support reading, writing, and numeracy skills, excuse me. So this is more of a general idea with learning and motivation. Part 2 is going to go more in depth into supporting reading, writing, and numeracy.